Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, welcome back to another video. So over the past few days, we've all been getting to grips with the new vehicle in Battlefield 2042, the XFAD-4 Draugr Stealth Bomber, and as such, we've discovered a few things that are most likely bugs. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have experienced the underground bug where you crash into the ground, you spawn, and then you're no longer in the jet, you're controlling it, but all you can see is a view of the underground. And then there's also a bug that I mentioned in my video a couple of days ago, where it seems like air vehicles are constantly getting mobility hit. So DICE have acknowledged these issues, and they also went further in depth into some of the gadgets and weapons available for the Draugr, like the Kerosene Bomb and Countermeasures, and some possible changes that might be coming to them in the future. Guys, as always, if you enjoy the content here on the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more Battlefield content whenever it drops. Leave a like down below if you enjoy the video as well, and you can always find me over on Twitter or in the Discord if you fancy a chat. And as always guys, thank you so much for the support. So let's head over to Twitter. Here we have Eddie, the lead vehicles designer over at DICE, and he says, "Yo, we are looking at the Draugr since the patch, and there has been a couple of unfortunate and unforeseen issues such as vehicle systems health and kerosene fire damage over time. Also the countermeasure feedback and some more. It's being looked at and will communicate when it's here." So what he's referring to here is that I know this goes for at least all of the jets, including the new Draugr. I think it's also for the helicopters as well. Whenever you take any amount of damage, it seems like, so I'm talking a single round for an enemy jet, your vehicle is getting completely disabled, causing you to have no mobility. And of course, if you're in a dogfight and somebody's behind you and they hit you with a single shot, that pretty much means that they automatically win the dogfight. So that wasn't just something that was for the Draugr, as I previously thought. This is going on, it seems, for all of the air vehicles at least. Maybe somebody can comment down below and let me know if it's for all of the vehicles in the game. So this is confirmed as a bug, and they are looking into fixing it. Secondly here, the kerosene fire damage over time. So for those of you who've been using the kerosene bomb, this is the anti-infantry bomb for the Draugr. It causes a large explosion, but sometimes it feels as though the blast radius isn't really as big as you would imagine, judging by the effect that you actually see in game. And it seems there's also supposed to be some sort of an incendiary effect where you get damage over time, just like when you throw an incendiary grenade, for example. Obviously that hasn't been happening. You just get the initial damage from the explosion and there is no tick damage after that. So that seems to also be a bug, and it seems they are looking into that. Now on the topic of countermeasures, it does say they are looking into the countermeasure feedback. A lot of you guys, and I can say this from my own perspective as well, have been somewhat frustrated with the lack of countermeasures, shall we say, for the Draugr. It really is difficult to survive in this thing. 2 AA missiles from a Wildcat will take you down, and whilst you do get the radar jammer gadget to allow you to sort of stay off of the radar of the Wildcat for a short time, you can't really do anything about man pads. All you can do is fly out of range. You can try to line of sight it behind cover, but outside of that, you're pretty much going to be toast. And just the other day, as an example, I had a couple of guys up on a Pond Hawk flying around in my deployment, targeting down every single Draugr that spawned and making quick work of it. It wasn't really very fun at all. I didn't feel like I had any way, like there was just literally nothing that I could do about them. All I could do was spawn an AA launcher of my own, and the sad thing is that the Pond Hawk actually has smoke. So the Pond Hawk has countermeasures to deal with AA missiles, but a multi-million-dollar stealth bomber jet apparently does not. Now that's mainly a joke. I know this is not based on realism. The reason it doesn't have the countermeasures is for balance reasons. And Mr. Danger Cow chimed in here saying that if stealth is going to end up breaking locks, although I hope that it doesn't, he says, then perhaps it could be either not infinite or not able to use any weapons in stealth, or a protracted cooldown once turned off until it can be re-enabled. And Eddie confirmed here saying, you know, we are not changing its role and the original vision. It's still going to be a glass cannon that should not overstate its welcome if challenged, or it'll go down. So if you are thinking that Eddie and the team are going to implement countermeasures, I wouldn't get your hopes up. I don't think that's what they're going to do. Maybe some possible solutions could be to give the Draugr somewhat of a better like radar signature so that it can't be locked on as far away as most of the other aircraft in the game, so you have a little bit of an opportunity to outrange those lock-ons if you fly up into the flight ceiling, for example. Maybe it could dodge lock-ons in some way, even if it doesn't have the sort of I win button of a countermeasure. Or perhaps missile damage should just be toned down overall. I was quite surprised to see that one single missile from a Wildcat did 70 damage. I thought that the bomber was going to be somewhat slower to fly than the other jets in the game, and that kind of surprised me to find that it wasn't, but I thought it would be a lot more tankier and that it would maybe take like 3-4 missiles to take it down. But of course, ultimately, I guess we'll just find out what they do with this. Now, there are a couple of other bugs that have been found for this thing as well. At the moment, I would not recommend using the rocket pods as the primary weapon. The reason behind this, mostly, outside of the fact that I just don't think they're as good as the HE cannons, is because they are dusting on every single air vehicle in the game. I'm not sure if it was just the game that I was in, but whenever I tried to attack an enemy jet in a dogfight, the rockets always dusted. I think there's some bug with them there, so hopefully Eddie is going to comment on this, and I guess I'll take a look at these again when it's been fixed. There's also some weird underground bugs, so I'm not sure if this is only in the solo versus AI game mode, but if you crash the Draugr into the ground and then you wait for the respawn and spawn again, you'll be able to control it, but you won't be able to see it, and your camera will actually be stuck under the earth. So if it wasn't already hard enough to unlock the weapons and gadgetry for this particular vehicle, well, now I guess you've got an extra challenge to contend with. Obviously a bug though, and I'm sure DICE are going to be fixing that one as well. And just as a final note on the Draugr here, in my previous video I was talking about the secondary weapon, the AGM. It's kind of lackluster. It only does around 35 damage to a tank, which is, I believe, the same damage as most of the other AGMs in the game, so the same damage as the one on the Nightbird, etc. But somebody actually piggybacked off of the back of Eddie's tweet here, and, you know, they say that the new drone is cool, but it has too few AGM missiles. Of course, you only get one, and then you have to wait for the reload, and players are more willing to choose the JDAM. If the number of AGM missiles could be increased, I think it would help improve the performance in the AGM game. And of course, you only get one AGM that does 35 damage, so why would you take that over a JDAM that does 65 damage, right? But interestingly here, Eddie actually says you're right. However, the AGM on this drone, as hinted in the weapon description, has a secondary function when combined with the SOFLAM or the Tracer, which should give you the highest damage output out of all the bombs. So it is a bit niche, not for everyone when used regularly. So apparently, if you have somebody SOFLAMing, then that single AGM is going to do more damage than even a JDAM. Now, a JDAM does 85 damage to the Wildcat, so that may potentially mean that you can one-shot the Wildcat with this thing. As he mentioned though, it is a bit niche, it is very situational, you do need to have somebody constantly SOFLAMing, and I think I can speak from experience and say that just never happens in my games. So unless you're running with a squaddy who's prepared to do that, then I stand by what I say, it's probably the worst of the secondary weapons, unless you've got somebody SOFLAMing. In any case, it is nice to see DICE looking into these issues. I'm very interested to see what they do in the countermeasures department. Like I've said before, I think if myself and other seasoned pilots are having difficulty staying alive in this jet, then what hope do the general public have of using this thing or even bothering to unlock it? I think it's somewhat of a meme at the moment, kind of a joke that you spawn into this jet and all you get is the EMP bomb and the HE cannons. You don't even get the jammer to start with. You have to get, I believe, like 150 kills or around that to unlock it. And I honestly think the majority of players are going to give this jet a look. They're going to die a couple of times and they're just going to say, screw it, man. I can't be bothered dying over and over again trying to unlock everything. Of course, it's a bit of a fine line between making it way too overpowered and actually making it enticing and fun to use at the same time. In any case, guys, let me know how you guys have been getting on in the jet. Have you been using it? You know, do you feel it's too underpowered without the countermeasures? Do you feel it's maybe too overpowered? Leave your thoughts below, have a good one, and I'll see you guys in the next video.